Dude, look how far these parts racks go.
So far down that hallway.
You need one of these.
Employees are allowed to use the shop to work on their own carts when the benefits are working at dining, so we wind up with the Volkswagen and Dodge and Trap, but that's okay. It's one of the nicer benefits that we have. So these are current either cars in for service, installation of high-performance parts, or research vehicles. This side of the shop is research vehicles, even though that's not a research vehicle, because when we go home at night, we bring everything in, so we don't leave it out in the parking lot. So we use a whole list of parked cars. And this side over here is car repair and installation. So that M5 is getting one of our 630 horsepower V10. The 7 Series is just in for maintenance. That E39 M5 is getting a 620 horsepower supercharger. If you guys want to go and take a look at the front of that. The M3 over there is getting a supercharger installed.
Like the drill factor right here.
These cars are getting pretty old, but we still do them. Move this out of the way. Still one of my all-time favorite cars, E39 M5. Great car.
Get that on video.
Like you own one?
Hips and hiccups, yeah.
It's a great car.
How many put the pounds of boost?
I think 7 or 8.
Some of the companies did a supercharger lately for this car, and some of them are running in their cooler.
They're not?
Yeah.
Oh. I didn't know anybody else ever got one to work other than us.
ESS, CA Automotive.
For E39 M5?
Yeah, they're just releasing it. But the thing is, I'm afraid of is going to their cooler, because I know these engines really heat up fast.
Yeah. Yeah. It also needs an oil cooler as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I think want to take pictures. You want to go?
Let me get out of your way.
Joanna, do you have any technical questions for Steve?
Oh yeah. How does this thing work?
How's the whole thing work? I don't know if we have that much time. There's a couple.
Over dinner.
There's a couple of unique things about this, and this is why there was a company in Southern California that made a supercharger kit that had a bunch of problems, and then another company in Northern California that had one as well. The reason being is this is a fairly complicated engine from an engine management standpoint, so some unique things in the system, which is why ours worked. There's actually an extra throttle body here, so the blower is throttled.
Oh.
It's throttled electronically, so you have one in each cylinder and one here. And the reason that is normally on a conventional engine, you'd have a throttle body, single one, and a plenum afterwards. This engine, you have a plenum and a throttle body. The problem is when the engine is spinning at 7 grand, you close the throttle, the supercharger is still making peak boost.
Yeah.
Air has to go somewhere, okay? So when you close the throttle, what it does is it just basically makes this thing poof up like a marshmallow and want to blow everything in the intake apart, because the air is still traveling in there to make 620 horsepower and the throttles are closed. So it basically spikes a huge pressure spike in the intake tract. Okay. So there's a couple things that were done. One is we actually close the throttle in the blower before we close the throttle in the engine, so the blower gets put in a vacuum, so there's no air to pump into the plenum. It's shut down. Okay.
Prior to the demand being shut off.
Right. And then these open before this opens as well. There's a reed valve, a one-way valve here, that bypasses the supercharger for light throttle cruise down the freeway. Okay, and it automatically takes care of itself. So for example, if the pressure is higher in this than it is in this, it closes. If it's higher in this than it is in this, it opens. It's just a spring-loaded reed valve.
Sure.
So if for some reason the throttles were to get out of sync, they automatically balance themselves. Okay, we spent a couple years on research on this. This improves the drivability dramatically, stops from breaking parts, stops from surging issues, setting faults because the air mass meter airflow goes backwards. The other problem we had was when you close the throttle, the airflow would come back, it would flow air reverse through the air mass meter. Air mass meter get a reverse signal, the engine would get a shudder, and then you get a fault.
Going weird.
So you have to manage the engine like a naturally aspirated engine in one phase and a supercharged engine in another phase, and there has to be discrete difference between the two. Okay. The other thing is that other people have done kits that put either no intercooler at all, I guess, I didn't even know that, or an intercooler inside the plenum. The problem is this engine has individual trumpets, like all the M cars, plastic runners. Those runners are a certain length to provide low-end and mid-range torque. The longer the intake manifold runner, the more low-end power you have, the shorter, the more high-end power you have. So when they take those off to make room for the intercooler, they kill all the torque. So there's a company up in Sacramento and other ones and down in LA that made a kit that put a air-water heat exchanger in here, got rid of the trumpets, and they claimed to make more power than us. They claimed to make 700 horsepower. But they made it the last 500 RPM.
Oh.
So from
Doesn't
67
much.
to 7200 RPM, they made 60 more horsepower than us, and everything below that we made more. And when you get down to like 4,000 RPM, we made like 100 more foot-pounds of torque than theirs. 100 more foot-pounds of torque because the intake runner length. So we put an air-to-air intercooler out here so we keep the intake plenum intact.
So when people come out like claiming to, oh yeah, we make more horsepower with this, like,
Well, you got to judge the quality of the horsepower, right? Same thing's happening right now in the M3 world, the M3 V8 world. There's two companies making supercharger kits for them. And if you look at their claimed peak number is higher than our stroker motor. But if you go race the cars, our car is just as fast. In fact, we just drag raced one of the supercharger kits, won't mention the name because it's not nice. We were faster in the straightaway than them, with supposedly 80 less horsepower. Okay, a couple things are going on there. Okay, first of all, they're claiming the horsepower with all the calipers removed and race gas in the engine.
Oh.
And we're claiming it with pump gas in the car and the calipers in. So that certainly makes a huge difference in the power output of the engine. Anybody can rip off 4 calipers and make 30 more horsepower and put race gas in the car and make another 20 and add 50 horsepower. You can do that to one of ours as well, by the way. When you rip off a caliper, all the cars react the same. It doesn't make a difference whose kit's on the car. Okay? The other thing, though, is our stroker motor has just a ton more torque. I mean, like 100 more foot-pounds of torque. And when you shift, the engine falls back down in the RPM, and then it climbs back up again. If every time it shifts and you drop down, and our power is greater than theirs, then for half the time you're revving, we have more power than them.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe half the time we have a little less. But the overall average acceleration rate of 2 is about the same. But the engine displacement is a lot more tractable. You got a lot more torque, it's a lot easier to drive around town.
So when you do like testing and research like that, do you like write articles about the results of it, or are you not allowed to do that?
We don't because we can do it legally, but and a lot of people do it to us.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
They'll rip
like,
the calipers, put race gas in it, go out and make a video, put on YouTube, and show that their car's faster than ours. It's not even a level playing field. This is the mode that the piggyback guys do with the 335s and 135s, by the way. They take the calipers off the car, they put race gas in the car, and they go dyno it, or go have a race, and it's 4 car lengths faster than ours. Big deal. We could put race gas in ours and pull the calipers off and do that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, you're not comparing apples and apples then.
You're making a real product, you're just not trying to make a video.
Yeah, yeah. And what they're doing is they're using that to sell product, and they put it on the message boards with a link to the video, and everybody goes, wow, I got to have that because it's faster, and people buy into it. We're hoping the majority of you are smarter than that and really see what the hell's going on. The other thing a lot of people do is they give product to people, so they go on the message boards and say how great their product is. They basically bribe the people that are on the message, but we don't do that either.
Well, over time.
So we let the product speak for itself. And when we have those kind of comparisons done by other people, we almost always lose because they're stacked.
Yeah.
You know, doesn't mean they're really faster. We don't do that in reverse. We don't think it's ethical. It's not how we run our business. We just take those lumps. Do we like it? No. Does it make us mad when we see them? Yeah.
If you do want to bribe someone to do post, I'll give you my card.
What?
I said if you do want to bribe someone to do post, I'll give you my card.
We got a garage full of them right here. So
Okay, let's move on.
Are you guys looking into supercharging the